Welcome to Metalben's Chronicles, where metal lives. Got an album review coming at you today, and this one is courtesy of a YouTuber. That's right, yes, a YouTuber that actually plays in this band. And I had no clue what impact this band had early on, due to the fact that I just found out about this band a year ago. So yeah, of course, a lot of you know Mark G with the C, an excellent YouTuber, has an excellent collection, really knowledgeable when it comes to extreme underground metal, you know, and just a really cool guy, Somebody I've known on here for about, I'd say 3 years, maybe 4 years. I think since 2019, maybe. I've known Mark G with the C, at least somewhere in that time frame. But I had no clue he played in the band Enchantment. And I found this out when Marty Worm did a stream roughly over a year ago talking about the history of Century Media Records. And I found out about Enchantment and that Enchantment had this record deal with Century Media Records back in the day and put out this iconic album that was highly influential back then called Dance The Marbel Naked, which I bought shortly after that stream. And I had no clue Mark Gibson, Mark G with a C, was in this band at the time. And I thought that was really cool. Anyway, so yeah, moving on. So Enchantment only has 2 studio albums, 1 demo. Originally, they formed in 1991. Sufferance was the original name of their band from 91 to 92. Then they changed over to Enchantment, put out a demo in 93 called A Tear for Young Elegance. A Tear for Young Elegance, excuse me. That's the first demo. Then obviously they got to deal with Century Media Records at the time and put out Dance the Marbel Naked right here. Now mine's a Peaceville reissue. I believe there's a couple other different reissues, and I had no clue how influential this album was on a lot of bands. I really didn't. And it's kind of weird that I didn't know about them early on. So yeah, anyways, they had a 6 album deal with Century Media Records and they ended up disbanding. And I believe it's 2019 they got back together. Yes, and I do remember trying to think. So yeah, I do kind of remember when the single dropped for this. And I got to look here again because my memory ain't the greatest all the time. As Great as the Eye Behold single dropped in 2021, but however, I didn't hear it till 2022 for some reason. So yeah, and that would have been shortly after hearing, the Marty Worm stream that happened on Century Media Records, which is a very good stream, by the way. I definitely recommend anybody go check that out if you haven't. And check out Mark G with the C's YouTube channel. Anyways, getting on to this album, the comeback album, 28 years in the making. That's right, we got Cold Soul Embrace. Came out on June 24th, 2022 on Transcending Records. So yeah, man, and I gotta say, this is an incredible album. It's a heck of a follow-up to Dance The Marbel Naked, which was 28 years earlier. And if this album would have came out in 95 or 96, this definitely would have been the perfect follow-up. And it's kind of interesting to me if they would have stuck together how many albums they would have out by now, maybe. So to me, this definitely sounds like it was meant to be the follow-up album. It definitely has that feel. It almost has a theme to it. Like the way the first album ends and the way this album begins, it kind of blends together. Like this could be part 2 of that album, which I don't know if that was intentional or not. I don't think, but yeah, just really interesting. So you get 8 tracks here, and I gotta say, these 8 tracks are absolutely phenomenal. So let me pull up the track listing here because it's kind of hard to read the CD. Okay, so yeah, the album opens up with As Good as the Eye Beholds. Really good opener to this album indeed. It's got a very somber beginning, then it gets pretty heavy. You get a little D beat section in there, you know. Really good song, well structured, I think. This kind of has that early Catatonia, My Dying Bride type of feel to it, you know. And that early Swedish death metal influence mixed in there, oddly. I think it works and it sounds absolutely incredible. I do think the vocals on this album are very much improved over the debut album too. I like the vocals on here. It seems like the death vocals are much deeper. The cleans kind of have that very gothic vibe to it. Very Catatonia, I would say, maybe even to an extent Cradle of Filth early on. Not saying they sound like Cradle of Filth because they definitely don't. But some of the clean spoken words kind of remind me of that a little bit. Even Balsic Goth, which is kind of a weird comparison with the spoken words, you know. Obviously, this is much more in that gothic doom metal direction compared to those bands, but you get where I'm coming from. So yeah, really good beginner. A Swan Like duet. Oh man, this track's incredible too. Again, it begins kind of somber, then gets pretty heavy, you know. Again, just another incredible track, in my opinion. Painting Amongst the Feathers. Yeah, Painting Amongst the Feathers is next. Wow, this track is absolutely incredible too. You know, I think this one's a little more on that it's dark and melancholic type of sounding. You know, it definitely has that somber atmosphere, but there's a lot of heavy moments on here too. A lot of excellent harmony guitar work on this track too. That's very almost hypnotic sounding. You know, I really enjoy this track. So then we got. Hold on a minute. Of Glorious. Oh, of Glorious Vistas Forget, excuse me, there. Which is another excellent track. You know, I'm just trying to remember here. Okay, never mind. Yeah, this is another excellent track in my opinion. Just again, a continuation of pretty much what you've heard before on this album. You know, as far as like being somber and melodic and really heavy goes. You know, so then we get. Oh, let's see, the Wake of the Hollering Tide. The Wake of the Hollering Tide. If I'm reading that correct. Seems like the track listing on my CD's a little different here. Okay. Let me just look here. Okay. All right, never mind. Okay, we're on track. Okay, so this is an instrumental track. It's a really short instrumental track. It's got a very, it's kind of weird. It's very beautiful sounding, which is kind of weird. It doesn't really sound dark. You know, it's very pretty atmospheric, kind of progressive. You know, it's a bit different. You know, but then it gets really heavy, really quick. In a cello felt glare. Oh my god, this track's absolutely incredible. Yeah, these last two tracks are easily the heaviest tracks on here, the more death metal sounding tracks on here, I would say. Yeah, and this track, man, you get some excellent riffing going on here, some excellent melodies, some excellent progression going on too. I mean, this track is just one of the more heavier tracks, you know, and I really enjoy it, you know. I really like the spoken word parts in this track too. I mean, it's just awesome stuff. The Beauty of Liars, though, this is my favorite track on the freaking record. This is the heaviest track on the album. This one I would say is more of just straight up death metal. You know, you get some D beats, you get some double bass, you get some really good tremolo picking on this track. It's just great stuff. This is, yeah, man, this is easily my favorite on here. It's the heaviest track on here. Just absolutely awesome stuff, you know. And then we end it with One Jump of the Sun to end the album. Wow, this track is absolutely incredible. I really hear like I kind of hear a mock era sentenced in the melody of this track, you know, mixed with like some maybe early Tiamat. I can kind of hear that in there, you know. Obviously, I would say early Paradise Lost. I mean, yeah, it starts off really melodic, really beautiful. Then it gets really dark. And this probably has like some of the darkest death metal vocal performance on the album. It's just great stuff. A great ender to the album. I'm definitely anxious to hear what a third album's going to sound like by this band. Hopefully it won't take forever for it to come out, you know. I mean, hopefully we don't have to wait another 28 years. Just joking. But all in all, this is an incredible album. An excellent comeback album. To me, it doesn't sound like it took 28 years for this album to happen. It sounds like it could have came out in 2000 or 1995 or 96, excuse me, there easily. Incredible album. I would give this album easily a 9 point, I'd say about a 9 out of 10. I think it's a strong album. It's a great comeback album. Like I said, it doesn't sound like Enchantment had been going for 28 years. Great album. I hope I did my best to review this. I'm not the greatest at reviewing Death Doom albums, but I tried. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, keep it metal, subscribe to Mark G with a C. Check out Enchantment. Check out both of these albums. Dance The Marbel Naked and Cold Soul Embrace. Really good stuff. And that's my review for Enchantment's Cold Soul Embrace. Keep it metal.